So welcome everyone to the in this seminar series. So this is a part of the special seminar series uh, under the umbrella that we have envisioned as the Indus mentorship program, where we plan to talk about how to write good proposals and also try to include some tutorials on the solar physics research. So today our guest or like our speaker is Dr. Bibhuti Kumar Jha. So it's my pleasure to introduce him. So he is currently working as a research scientist at the Southwest Research Institute in Boulder, Colorado. So he obtained his PhD from IIA, and Dr. Jha now so his specialization is in analyzing the sun's long-term variation through advanced numerical techniques and image processing. So today we'll hear from him his insights on like preparing how to prepare effective proposals on solar physics research. So please help me welcome Dr. Jha. And after the talk, there will be a panel discussion. So with that, I would like to welcome Dr. Vibhuti.
Thank you, Ranadeep. I will just add that my PhD was a little complicated. It was from IA as well as IRIS.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sorry for
I
that.
will just add it.
I,
No, it's okay. I know that that's complicated.
yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So I will start. First, let me share my screen. And can you see my screen? Randeep, can you confirm you can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming at different time zone. We all are at different time zone. And I know that most of the people from India, they must be waiting to watch IPL. So thank you so much again for leaving IPL behind and coming this for this talk. So as a part of series, what I will be talking about today is the building a competitive funding application proposal in a heliophysics research, which is the follow-up discussion based on what Ritesh has presented a few weeks back. So let's start with what Ritesh has presented. This is the slide that I have taken from Ritesh. So he has talked about particularly about the roses, but we will go a little bit more detail in the proposal writing. And mostly it is, as I am also an early career, it is mostly sharing the experience with all of you. When you move from PhD to postdoc, how things changes, and particularly if you are coming to the soft money, like United States and even in Europe, you have to understand the funding situations, funding, how you can get fund and how things work. And then once you know all this, how to write a good proposal. So the purpose of today's discussion is to strengthen the proposal writing skill. I will be focusing on heliophysics, but it can be applied to the any field of science. So it's more general, but I will be giving an example which will be more aligning with the heliophysics. So things starts like you are a postdoc, PhD, looking for a postdoc, you are looking for a PhD, and you want to get fund, you want to get your position. So how will you start? So let's assume you got an excellent idea and you think it's a brilliant idea. I can write a, how can I proceed with this? So the first thing is that if are you a PhD, you already have fund, or if you don't have fund. So if you have fund, you can complete this work in 1 month and will submit it into Nature and you will be happy. But, and that's how it starts. But if you don't have fun to work on it, first thing that you have to think about, do I have fun to work on it? So now if your answer is no, then next question is, can I ask for fun to work on this idea? So you have to keep in mind, funders don't fund need, they fund solution. So it's not your requirement, that's why they are going to fund. It's they are looking for some solution aligning with their overall goal, Like for example, NASA heliophysics, they have some specific problem that they want to address it. So I will be coming back again to this topic, but it's you have to keep in mind they will not fund you because you need fund. Then where to submit this idea? So if you are a PhD looking for a group for a PhD position somewhere, and if you find an idea, talk to some potential supervisor, look for the position, they have fun, look for the group and facility and all the requirements that the institute have. If you fulfill all these, you can submit your idea to get a PhD position. And then if you are looking for a postdoc position, if you are a PhD, you have to again follow something similar. Like for example, if you are writing a Newton's, if you are writing a proposal for any European funding agency, United States like JACAD and any other proposals, you have to understand what are their requirements, what are the groups, what the proposal, the idea that you got is, how it is well fitting with the place, the facility they have. And then you have to also look for the funding agency. For example, if NSF has a postdoctoral program that they can fund, so NSF, NASA, ERC, and ETC you can. And then final thing will be the solicitation, like which program, every program has a different requirement. So it's not like NSF is a funding agency, you can write a proposal and you will get funded. So you have to find a specific program where your idea is fitting well. And there are some requirements. If you fill those, complete those requirements, you can submit your proposal in that particular program and solicitations. Then life seems easier. Every step we have learned that, okay, you are doing 10th is the last step where you have a difficulty, and then life will be very easy after that, very simple. But the situation is like, I remember once Arnab Rai Chaudhary told me postdoc is like a tunnel where you don't know there is a light in the other side, but there is a light, but it's like, because you are in the transition phase where you are till PhD, you are a kind of researcher, you are a student mentality, but postdoc is a middle academician. They don't have the permanent position, but they are also not a PhD. So you are not an independent researcher, but you are an independent researcher as well. So it's kind, and that's why I found it like more appropriate to, I don't know about the other next two, but at least I know about the postdoc and how things has changed from PhD to postdoc. Then finally, if you are going through hell, keep going. That's the only answer to get to the other side of the tunnel. Then now coming to, once you have idea, you find out, okay, you are looking for a PhD postdoc, or you are a postdoc looking for a funding opportunity. So you have to look for the funding sources and solicitation. So I'm just giving one example for the Heliophysics Early Career Investigator Program, and I have actually submitted into this proposal uh, la last year. So when you look at this program and this type of solicitation, this image taken from Inspire, is like you have to understand the scope of the program and then solicited investigation. So what are the scope of program? What kind of things they are looking for? What career stage they want you to be so that you can apply for that? And then what are the science question they are looking for in this particular solicitation? So there are some solicitation where they are look for the specific science problem. So if you have something else, you are not supposed to submit there. And until unless you have something very, very specific aligning with that particular solicitation, you can write proposal for that solicitation. And once you know the solicitation, you have to look at how much fund they have, what are the teams, and everything will come later. But first, it is to identify where your idea is fitting well so that you can submit. And similarly for NSF, like for example, I'm giving the sign, which is most popular one in, if you are in United States. Then in this program, what are the science question they are asking for? It is a slightly broader, but still you have to understand what are the things they are looking for. What are their overall goal under this program, what they want to fund. For example, like space weather, it's like a broader aspect. Right? In the space weather, there are many things that can cover, but sometimes they have some focus topic. They have something that like they want people to work on this, and then only they will fund it. So when you go into the uh, when your proposal go into the review process, the first thing they check for the programmatic, is it fitting well with the program that you have submitted? If it is not fitting well, even though your proposal is really, really good, they will not consider even for the review. So it is always very, very important to find out the good solicitation, good program where your idea is fitting very well. That is the first step of the success. And then when you find out the solicitation, go through the documents very, very carefully. The solicitation document is a long document. It's difficult to initially pay attention to that, but it's very, very important. Take a note, highlight the keywords, and pay attention to the required. So for example, some of the solicitation has a time allocation. Like you have to, PI has to report like 20%, 30% of your time. So when you get funded for 1 year, that doesn't mean like you are fully funded for that. There are some programs where you can get fully funded, but most of them are not. So you have to find out, okay, what is the minimum requirement for the time allocation? Is this proposal asking for some resources? For example, if it is a simulation based proposal, what they are asking, and if you're writing a proposal which will be using simulation, do you have high computing resources to do the, and sometimes they have a limit on number of team members as well. So these things are very, very important. And then there are some general guidelines which are mostly valid for our NASA program. And if you look at the general guideline for NSF, they have like an formatting, font, references, section, and a lot more. So these are like a book. So you don't have to read through each line, each page, but you must scan through the book, so that proposal guideline, to understand what are their requirements. So these are the proposals guide from NASA, and then main proposal from NSF, and I'm sure that there will be something similar from the ERC and other places as well. All the programming agency has, like funding agency has these kind of guidelines. And so now the question is like, sometime what you find is that there are general guidelines. So I see I have a typo in guidelines. So general guidelines. So the proposal guidelines and the program specific guidelines. So if you find something in the proposal guideline and then you find similar thing is in the solicitation in the specific guidelines, it will override the program general guideline. So you should follow the program specific guidelines. Now the next is the team. Ritesh has talked about this earlier, and team is very, very important. So when you get a problem, it's proposal is a teamwork. And when you write a proposal, when you work, it's mostly a teamwork. And depending on the extent of the proposal, it's like you have the wider team. You have a very big team with wider expertise. So when you decide a team, you have to find it's not like, okay, he is my friend, he is good in doing something. That doesn't mean he will be good fit for the kind of proposal that you are writing. So you have to find a people who is like kind of complementary. They're not should not be too much overlap. So, or otherwise, it's also like if you are able to do something, why you are asking for help from some other people, if you can also do the same thing. So sometimes you have to show this, that this will strengthen the proposal. You have to justify that. If I am doing it alone, that will not make, I don't have time. I don't have, like, these are justifications. Like it is possible that you don't have time and you need help from someone else, but it's also like you have some skill and you need some other skill in this particular proposal, and there is someone who can help you with that, having that particular skill. So it is important to have a team, and it is also important you should not put anyone in the team. They have, it is important that they have time, interest, and expertise. So principal investigator is the ultimate responsible for the success of the project. So it's mostly the PI's duty to decide all of these aspects of the proposal. Then final thing, coming back to the, when you write a proposal, you have to know your audience. And here they are reviewers of your proposal. So when you write a proposal, you don't have to think what you believe, what you think. If you are thinking this proposal is a good, in my opinion, it's not your opinion. You will not be there to explain to them what you meant to say. It should not say, okay, what I meant to say is like this. No, you will not be there to explain that. So you have to keep in mind that your audience and who is reviewer here. So usually being in review panel, I know that like one reviewer usually get 8 to 10 proposal to review, and out of 8 to 10 there will be 2 to 3 where they will be primary reviewers, and then secondary reviewer for rest of them. So when you read the proposal, it should be something like easy to read, right? Reading 8 or 10 proposal which are completely different from each other, maybe a little bit aligning with each other, but they could be different. So it is plenty of information, and you get like, apart from your work, you are getting only like 15 days to 20 days, sometime months to read through those proposals. But it's not the only work that you are doing, but still it's a plenty of information to process. So while writing the proposal, it's not only the important aspect you write a good proposal. You have to think in the point of view if you are a reviewer of the proposal. And that's why most of the people says that when you want to write a good proposal, try to be in the review panel. When you go into the review panel, you will know the process of reviewing the proposal. And so it's very, very important to write your proposal in such a way that it is easy to read, it's engaging, and that makes for the reviewer to like reading proposal will be a fun, and then it will make reviewer interested in your work. In that way he will be engaged in your proposal, he will try to understand your. But if it is not well written, I'm not saying in terms of science, it's terms of your language, if it is not well written, then it will be difficult to follow, and maybe he will very briefly go through your sections, and it will be difficult for him to read through everything, to understand everything, and maybe you will get very general feedback, or maybe you will get very average rating. So it is very, very important for proposers to write a proposal which is easy and engaging, and make it enjoyable to read and self-sufficient as much as possible. So the second part of this sentence is difficult. So you have to cite many papers, you have to give the references, but keep in mind that you're writing a proposal in MSD simulation, and maybe the reviewer is not expert in MSD simulation. So try to avoid the jargons as much as possible. It's not, you cannot make it, it's difficult to write everything in 10 pages or 15 pages, but try to make it self-sufficient so that it will be, reviewer will not have to follow your references, which makes the job of reviewing your proposal easy. So while writing, keep in mind, like if you are saying some words, try to give a brief explanation what it means. So if you find a, like if your reviewer is expert in that field, he will understand that, but nuances of those terms. But if it's not in your hand. So try to make it as possible as self-sufficient. And again, continuing with what Ritesh has mentioned, too much, too little. Not too much, not too little. So if you write too much, it will overwhelm the reviewer. If you put a lot of information, lot of things, it is not the preferred one. And then if you write too little, too simple, then it's lack credibility that are you like a good person to complete this proposed work. So, and also, do you know the required science goal for the proposals? So that you have to find a balance between these two. So for example, we'll use ML versus train CNN with HMI magnetogram. So one can write, I will be using ML for do this. But I wanted to show, like if you write train CNN with HMI magnetograms, you can understand that it's not a difference in word, like too much words. You have like 4 or 6 here, so 5 words here, but you can see the difference, how it will make if you use word like we will use ML, which is very, very uh, like it's too little and it's lack credibility. What kind of ML So it is always good to write it in more specific way, but don't make it too long. So this is one of the example I found, like a very simple example. And then you have to keep in mind that even the most fantastic, revolutionary, amazing science idea in the world need to be explained clearly. So when you write proposal, you know that it's an excellent science idea, but you have to pass your idea so to the reviewer and to the funding agency that it's really a fantastic. It's not like you feel it fantastic. You have to make it such a way that they feel it like a fantastic proposal. And so pay attention to clearly writing your scientific ideas. So now it's time to writing actual proposal. So I have talked about like big umbrella, like what are overall things that you be careful when writing the proposals, but now it's time to actual proposal writing. So a good proposal, the most successful proposal, keep in mind successful and good proposal. So I am saying good proposal in terms of the successful proposal, but not all the good proposals are successful, but most of the successful proposals are good. So keep in mind. The most successful proposals tell a compelling story, backed by evidence and guided by vision. So compelling story is an important part. You have to justify why this science is important. As I mentioned, they are not funding your need, they are funding the solution. So you have to tell a compelling story that tells it is important to do the science. It is urgent to do the science. Like we have sufficient thing and it is the right time to do this work. Like for example, if there is an eclipse coming and you are next year and you are writing proposal, you can justify it is a right time. So that's kind of say the urgency. And if you are seeing like space weather things, a lot of events are happening and we are lacking somewhere. So that's why you see why most of the proposals are going, they are trying to connect with the space weather because it is important. So this is crucial right now for the financial like global like not only the heliophysics for the safety of our space instrument and many things. So it is important to tell the compelling story according to what they are looking for, and then back and by evidence. It is also very important. So whatever you are saying, it's not out of the box. So if it is completely out of the box, so NASA has something program like called HIRTS, which actually small project that give fund for the very risky projects. Sometimes you are thinking out of the box. So they don't want to fund something very risky. So you have to first demonstrate, you have to say something like there's evidence that it will work. So you have to write a proposal, particularly the long proposals are, they don't want to fund $1 million to you. So, and at the end you will say, okay, no, my idea was like, it failed. So you have to support that there is some evidence that this will work, and then definitely guided by the vision. So there is something called story arc that I found, and you can see like you have objective, beginning, and question. You should phrase your like what are the major question that you are going to ask in this, and then you establish action. What is your action plan to answer this? Then you will find conflict. What is the problem with the other works? What are the things that people are missing, and then you resolve how you are resolving that, how you are adding to the existing problem, or like how you are solving or taking the baby step in solving the existing problem. So reach conflict, and then you end up the story, and then you finally say what are the knowledge that you are going to gain. So you have to keep in mind that ideas that stick tend to be simple. So again, coming back to the earlier that I mentioned, make your ideas very simple. It's not important to have a very complicated idea. If you are not able to explain your complicated idea in a simple way, it's difficult to get funded. The proposal, your proposal, because reviewer will not understand your brilliant science ideas that you are proposing. So it's like tunnel. Again, I will come back to this and say like you have a rejection, you have to understand that you write a proposal, you really feel that it's a good proposal, you get rejected, you try again, and you see most of the many big successful proposal has been attempted many times. So don't feel bad about if your proposal is getting rejected. So then again, I will come to the structure of proposal. Again, these slides are taken from the previous talk by Ritesh. And so the structure of the proposal, I will not repeat that. It mostly like you have this instruction in the guidelines. So you should follow the guideline, which is the like you have a title page, abstract, like which is summary kind of thing, then introduction, background, scientific question you should pose why you want to do that. Then you have to do the background, that is literature, what are the things that has been already done, research design and methodology. So unlike papers where your methodology is not the top priority, it's the introduction and then the result. Methodology is important in the papers, but proposal methodology is the most important part because you are proposing the work, how you are going to do it. You have not done it yet. So you don't have any results. If you have some result that you have demonstrated that there's like if this methodology work, that add-ons to like as a positive point into your proposal, but it's important to spend a lot of time on your methodology to properly, clearly explain your methodology. Break down it into the phases like, okay, task one, task two, task three, this is the steps that I'm going to follow. And then also at each step, try to find out the challenges that you feel. Like, for example, if you need computation and you have access to the high computing surface, but it is possible that you will not get the allocated time because you don't know what are the other people are looking at that time. So you have to identify these potential challenges, not only with this, because if you are training some ML model or something will happen and your ML model will not work, how you are going to mitigate those. So you should have some mitigation plan. And then just to go, to revisit the slide that Ritesh has shown, format, follow prescribed in slow language, easily accessible. I have already mentioned, use highlighted, bold text to highlight. So whenever you write in the proposal, it is different from the paper because most of us has a better experience, but proposal writing is very, very different from it's like you are writing a science article, which is different from the paper. So you have to understand these differences and everyone has their, like all of these different aspects have their positive and negatives. So you can bring some good things from there, but it's not always like whatever the way you write a proposal will like papers, it will work with the proposal. So you have to keep in mind, you have to highlight few things. You have to put a sentence that like, if I'm going to read through your proposal, if I just read all the highlighted, so keep in mind that when you have a highlighted, if I just read all your highlighted text, I will get an idea about your science question. I will get the idea about the proposal. That should make me interested in reading your proposal a little more. So it is important. It is very, very important to highlight and don't do too much. I have seen proposal while reviewing that they have so many bold sentences, italic, highlighted. So what it does is that it actually loses the essence of the meaning of bold text that you are putting. It's too much. So you have to keep in mind that, and when you are writing a paragraph, the first sentence is the most. So it's the first impression is the last impression. When I read a paragraph, just first sentence will tell me that what I am expecting in the rest of the sentences. And then your last sentence should be the conclusion. So these are the important skills when you are writing the proposal. And I am sharing this experience because I am learning that process right now. I am not expert in the proposal writing right now. I am learning from the experts of that, like how to write, what not to write. It is equally important to understand what to write, what not to write. And so again, like we have some discussion about like font does matter. So you make a bold, italic, color and everything. So if you there is no restrictions on the color and bold in the like solicitation, you can use these tools to highlight what are the things. So keep in mind when I read your proposal and when reviewer will read the proposal, just going through your bold highlighted sentence, they can get the essence of your proposal. And then back to the basics. Tell a compelling science story, as I mentioned, and not annoy or otherwise antagonized reviewers. So you have to keep in mind that when someone is reading your, and it is true for paper as well. Okay, so I'm not, it's Like when you are telling a science story, when you are building a story, don't and why think it point of view of like they should not get like you are putting so much jargons. Okay, there are some popular jargon that you can use. If you're writing CME, you don't have to explain what CME is because you are expecting that there is a solar physics. But if you are writing like ionization potential, if you are writing like a terms like magnetic reconnection. Like I have seen people talking about when you talk about the magnetic reconnection, because when I talk about the magnetic reconnection, I am talking about the sun, like magnetic reconnection happening on the sun. But when people from the atmospheric science, they talk about the magnetic reconnection, the people who are working on the close to the earth, they talk about the magnetic connection in the different aspects. So you have to make it clear. They choose reviewer based on their expertise, but still you have to keep in mind, don't put too much jargons. Don't assume that reviewer will know this. Oh, it's very obvious. Don't assume that. So the best story have simple outline and follow a clear progression. So as I mentioned, every paragraph, the story, like it's like reading a good book. You have seen there are very good stories, but the presentation is not that good. So make the proposal for the reviewer enjoyable. Force them to complete reading your proposal. So that is a skill and it will not come overnight. Keep in mind, so you are writing first proposal, it doesn't mean that like it will you will learn that. So writing a good proposal is always know your audience, keep it simple. Practice, practice, make it relatable, use powerful word, use strong visuals, figures are important, be authentic. Don't say something vague that you don't know completely and you don't have any idea what you are writing. And then practice, practice, practice. It's an iterative process. Keep in mind, you write one proposal, you feel it's best, read it again, read it again. I have rewritten many sentences that I felt like, okay, it's the best paragraph I have written, but when I read it again, okay, no, it doesn't feel good. Like you rewrite it. So you have to do it many times. So back to basic things is the way you kick off your story, how you frame the problem, unveil your characters. It's like for the basic storytelling technique, shape your audience, connect with it, and even whether they stick around. Knowing who you are writing for is a key to making it resonate. So you have to always keep in mind that who is your audience. So make it enjoyable. I'm repeating this word. So your proposal should be easy to read. Then I'm giving you some examples. What is the good way or bad way of writing? So if you write a sentence, the sun is very important. Studying it can help us learn more about space weather, which is dangerous. So if you look at this sentence, it's not an incorrect sentence. It is a correct, but it's vague, overly general, lack specificity and scientific framing. So it is important that you should know, if I write the same thing in the other way, like understanding the evolution of solar magnetic field is critical for improving space weather forecast, which directly impacts satellite operation and power grid stability. This proposal target a long-standing uncertainty in the polar field building during solar minima, a key driver for cycle prediction models. So see, like it's not a big change in the sentence or the if you think, okay, what I meant to say, you don't have to say that in the second sentence. You are directly. So it's better, clear problem, importance justified, scientific relevance established. So all these things are there. So it is one example where none of them are wrong, but you know which one is the better. I'm giving you another example. We will use various technique and model to analyze solar data and compare our result with the previous work. So again, the problem is no mention of a specific technique, data set, and novelty. So you can write, we will develop a flux transport model calibrated with the observed synoptic magnetograms using a novel data assimilation approach that preserve both total unsigned flux and dipole moment. Model prediction will be validated against historical polar field reversal. It's a specific, technique is clear, how we are going to do that. So these are important. Then another example where I'm saying, like I have shown two examples where I'm saying like simple sentence and big sentence, but you have to understand the difference. In this project, we intended to carry out an extensive and detailed examination of the variability and structural complexity of the solar magnetic field, particularly focusing on the emergence, evolution, decay, crust, decay across different spatial and temporal scale using the wide range of observational data set and advanced modeling technique. Too many nested ideas, too many things you are putting in the same sentence. So it's hard to digest in one pass. Even if you read it, like it's difficult to understand what there are many things going on. So we aim to track how solar magnetic field evolved from emergence to decay using combined observational and modeling. So it's not always that you write it in the simple way is a bad. So you have to understand the different direct, readable, and retain core meanings. So this is also important when you have limited pages. You are 10 pages. You have to you try to trim your paragraphs and don't make. So there are like your sentence should not be more than 20 words. Keep that in mind. And so don't put too many things in one sentence or one paragraph. A completely different thing. That is the meaning of. So you have to understand the meaning of sentence, difference between like sentence, paragraph, sections, chapters, and all these things are important. You should not take, okay, I feel like, okay, I should break it. Like now it's a paragraph, new paragraph. No. You have to understand why they are different. Then figure is very, very important. So when you are giving the figure, ask yourself, do your figure tell your story? So that is a question that you should ask. If someone is directly looking at your figure, do they understand what it is before without reading your caption? Then encourage them or like uh, make them interested in reading the caption because they are missing few things and they want more details about it, and that's why they read. So this is different phases. So they first look at the paper, like your figure, they understand something and they got interested in knowing more and they will read your caption, and then they got even more interested in knowing more about it, and then they will go to the text. And then color, your grid, and everything is very, very important. So I'm showing one example here taken from one of the paper. That's if you choose the color, different color palette. I have seen papers, I have seen proposal with very, very weird color. So I'm just giving you the example. This is the same image, 2D color image and grayscale image. So if you put it in a grayscale, it is a lot better than any others. So it doesn't mean that you have to make it colorful. And then it is always important. It's good if you can. It's not a requirement, but a flow chart figure that can provide an idea about the proposed work is always helpful. So if you have a one image or something which will give me the idea about the complete proposal, even it is a simple one, what you are aiming to, it will help. So introduction literature, these things are different and these are the flow, and then you put even like multiple things in the methodology. You can have a flow chart which explains the methodology, so it is easy to understand what is methodology is without reading your complete. It's sometimes you it help as well, sometimes you miss things in the text and then it is obvious from the flowchart, then the reviewer will understand that. So they don't want to find the negative things in your proposal unless you force them to find out. So then when you write, it's true for the papers as well, like pay attention to figures, like what is the purpose of the figure. Then you have to composition. Composition is important. Not all the figures are square. Not all the figures should be rectangle. Not all the figures should be circular. Like you have to find out. I have seen this thing is like taken very loosely. So you have to very, very crucial, and because it gives the impression when in the paper, sometime depending on the reviewer, they don't pay attention to that. But like if you read the paper, if you look at the like a presentation from people, it makes a difference. So first is the purpose you have to, and then composition. Composition is like the thing that I had mentioned, the aspect ratio, color, and then it comes to clarity. So it should not be too much crowded. And there is a paper which say worst paper figures in the world that has been produced in the science, and you see how bad people have been. So sometimes they say, okay, it's like it is written in the text. Then if there is a no need of figure, why are you putting the figure? If there is a need of figure, it should be clear. And then color also, like in the recent time, it is important everyone is looking at figures in the screen, digital screen, so you understand how it makes difference, like when someone is printing, so don't and someone looking at the digital screen. So you have to, and also it is like suggested to follow the color blind friendly palettes instead of just red, green, blue, and the default matplotlib style or ideal style, whatever programming language you are using. Be So these things, pay attention to these. And then one of the things is that I mentioned earlier, that the keywords, that when you are looking at the solicitation, pay attention to the keywords. So like strong visible word, if you write a good model, so you can write in a better way, like feasible and robust forecasting framework. So this is just an example. It may not be appropriate for the kind of proposal you are writing, but just example. Urgency and timelines. The existing data set model, do you have all the data set that you want to complete this? And then appropriate use of adequateness and feasibility. These words are very, very important. And I will tell you, like sometime when we looking at the proposal, people are looking at uh, these keywords in your proposal. Like, did you mention about the timeliness? Did you talked about? Then we'll go into the detail. Do you have justification for that? But it is the first thing. If you have not talked about uncertainty word, and then definitely there will be no justification in there. So assuming that, if you are writing about uncertainty, you should have somewhere uncertainty keywords there. A strategic placement, it's like timely outcome aligned with NASA's space weather goals. So these keywords that you find in the solicitation. So the final thing from this slide is read the program details or solicitation very carefully and highlight the keywords. I am reiterating this part. Pay attention to your keywords. So that brings me to the final part. I know that it's a lot of information. It's not easy to give the idea, but everything in 30-minute or 40-minute. Proposal writing is a skill that you gain over time. And I am saying based on my experience, I have been not a, like I have, like, when I was first time a reviewer, I have no idea how to review the proposal. And then I learned, I had some discussion, I learned being in the committee. So first thing is like, particularly for the PhD, whoever is PhD, they can be the part of the panel. And there are panel, they call executive secretary. So your work is just to take notes and looking at like just following the discussion. You are not supposed to review it. And then by that way, you will understand. And then in the future, you can be the primary, secondary reviewer. And when you are writing proposal, I have started, like, I remember the first draft that I have written for my first proposal, it was so bad. Like my supervisor, my mentor here, they looked at it and no, this cannot be. So because we all have not, like most of us has not written proposal, particularly if you are in India, you are in a PhD, we don't have experience of writing proposal. And when you come to postdoc, you have to suddenly start writing the proposals. So it takes time. So be prepared if you are planning for the postdoc, you are trying to come to the countries where they work on soft money. So it's good to start early, paying attention to these smaller details. So you cannot write proposal overnight. There is no way. And I am telling you because of even the experience, because of unseen circumstances, I have written a proposal in 2 days. And we were aware that we just wanted to submit it to get the like idea, like how a reviewer feel about the scientific idea. But we were from the time we submitted it, we were aware that this proposal is not getting accepted. We don't have time to even look through the proposal. So you cannot write proposal in like into 1 day, 2 day, even so start early. Rushing to meet deadline often result in poor formatting. And I have seen proposal where they have copied from the template and template text is still there. Missing information, other avoidable mistakes. So start early, give yourself time at draft, revise and polish. So you can only revise and polish when you have time. You cannot do it in the last moment. Expect to revise. It is uncommon to get funded on the first try. Treat rejection as a part of the process, not a failure. So if your proposal is getting rejected, don't treat it as a rejection. It's a learning process. So we learn from there. Use feedback. So sometimes you get a feedback from the reviewer that actually help. So you have missed some of the aspect that reviewers know. So revise your proposal accordingly and resubmit. That is possible. So you can resubmit your proposal after like next year, or it's not like a paper where you do it right now, but you can do it later. And then be adaptable. If the topic itself didn't resonate with the reviewer, consider pivoting your idea of framing it's different. And final, don't take it personally. A reject proposal doesn't reflect your worth. It often reflects how the science was communicated. Keep that in mind. And that's something you can improve. So thank you so much for your attention. And I will be happy to answer any question and we'll have some short discussion. We started a little bit late, I think, and then
Yeah, we
I
can.
was planning for 40 minutes. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So thank you, Bibhuti, for this excellent advices on like how to prepare this competitive this proposal. So it's time for the panel discussion. So I would like to invite Ritesh. Bibhuti is already here, and also Arpit to join. So let me put them spotlight. And Ritesh, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
I think this your camera is off.
Yes, my camera is off. Let it be in off position for now.
Okay. Yeah, so the one of the purpose for the panel discussion was like none of us has a lot of experience with proposal writing,
Yeah.
right? And Arpit has recently joined Southwest, so congratulations to him for first to come to the sorry. And now we have a big Deepankars mini Deepu gang in Southwest Research Institute. So it is must have been told Arpit that he will be writing proposals very soon.
Yeah.
So what are the questions that you think, Arpit, will be like as you when you start, like you have not written proposal, when you start, okay, someone told me like you have to write a proposal. What are the things come question that comes to your mind? What are your like what are things that make you afraid? What are the things that you think, okay, how I will be dealing with these things?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to this panel. I don't know. I will ask the questions such that it will be justified to be here, but I will ask anyway. So there are some questions which I derived from previous talk of Ritesh and from your talk right now. So yeah, while talking about having collaborators or co-PIs to the funding proposal, I was thinking what are the things we should consider while inviting collaborators or co-PIs to the proposals. So that was my first uh, thought in my mind. What should we look for in these particular areas? So maybe we can discuss on that as well.
Mhm.
Like if I extend upon that, like if we want to understand whether there are some people or there are some expert in in that particular area, we should be on the proposal, and because they have a lot of experience in writing such kind of funding proposals. So should we look for that, or what should we look for? I mean, that's my general question.
Yeah, so
Ritesh,
I
do you
think
want to
like I
comment?
just
Ritesh
want to
or
add in
Sandeep?
there,
Okay.
like often like people do a mistake that in the proposal as a collaborator, they try to jump for to add big names there, and
Yeah.
they end up with not able to justify their expertise in their proposal. So you should always so when you're framing a proposal, you should know that what are the requirements in your proposal, and what for from like in which aspect you need the expertise from the others, and in that way you choose the right people, and then it will be easy to like justify that why they are important for your proposal. In that way, you should frame the names in your as your collaborators, I guess.
Yes, adding to what Ranadeep just said. So suppose I and someone who is also working on CME, say Shatabdo, we both are working on say CME white light imagery, but it's not a good idea to have two same people having the same expertise. So there should be some complementarity. So suppose GCS is his complementary, mine is image processing. So in that way, we are complementing each other's work, and that makes a strong team. Also, if your proposal involves some complicated instruments or the newly developed instruments like Solar Orbiter or Parker or say ground-based like KCORE, so it's always good to involve their team or at least the PI so that you have some more ideas about the limitations of the data and the challenges that you may face.
And I will add to what Ritesh has mentioned. It's and Randeep also, like it's not always like you find a good name. So what are the like big names, not good name, big names. So for example, if you are doing your science question that you are posing, requiring some expertise, you look for those people. But also, it's like Ritesh has mentioned, if you're dealing with the data, for example, some new instrument, it's good to have someone from the team, they know about the details about the data, limitation of the data, and which you need to in for your science. It's an other thing aspect of it also that when you include big names, you have to understand the funding situation because most of the people that so what happened is that you include a big name, few big names, and you have to give them like some percentage if it is not collaboration, right? So it's not unfunded. So even if you give 1% or 2%, and some proposal has limited like minimum 5%. So 5% for if I include someone big name, the money that go for 5% is not sufficient to justify, and it will take out most of your money. And then if you are taking out your most of your money, then you have to think, okay, like you are getting only like 20% of time. So is it sufficient to complete the work on 20%? So it's finding balance. You need expertise, you need time, and you, based on your scientific question, you need to complete that work in the time frame. So all of these things you have to consider while selecting your team. And of course, like I mentioned, complementary expertise.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
also I would like to drag the discussion a bit towards the perspective of like the PhD students who are looking for the postdocs positions. So there are a couple of things like as a career goal, how should a PhD student should think like they should go for a postdoc position where they can acquire like different expertise than which he or she already had during his or her PhD tenure. And if that is the case, then sometimes they get demotivated while writing the proposal because they often cannot tailor their research expertise to that which is required for the postdoc position, open postdoc position they are aiming for. So how do you like what's your take on that?
Yeah. My understanding, I have been struggling like when I did PhD, I wanted to learn, get some new skill. I wanted to move to something that I can do something new. I don't want it to continue with like it's just to gain. Like you have an opportunity at this stage to get the skills, new skills, right? So it's difficult. And so, for example, if you are coming to United States, most of the proposal, like postdoc position, are based on some proposal. So PI already have some proposal. So they have to report to NASA or NSF, like they have completed. So they don't want to take that risk. So if you are not, if you have no idea about some work, if they take you, it will take 1 year or 6 months or more than that to just to get into that, right? And so they are spending to train you, and that is not the purpose of proposal. So that's little, and you can think of like as a PI because they have to complete the work on time. So if I'm going to somewhere in the writing up like going to somewhere, I have no idea what that thing is. They will be afraid to take me because they don't know will I get that skill. So it's always if you have something a middle ground. So finding a proposal where your expertise can be like 20% at least 20 to 30% is overlapping with what they are looking at. I have no experience with simulation, like MSD modeling. I cannot write, like it's difficult to get a position in MSD modeling completely. So if you have something like you are going from modeling to simulation, so you have a little bit overlap kind of things. So they know that, okay. And the way your diversity in your PhD is important in that time. So that diversity will show them you are open to learn new things. and you have demonstrated that capability.
Yeah.
So sometime try to, particularly we have this opportunity in India. I don't know about like other places where the PhD is also very, like project is very specific. But in India, we have, as far as I know, it's not very, very specific. So we have that option to get the diverse, like skill. And that is very helpful. Like I got help from that skill. Like I have image processing skill, I have like a data analysis skill, I have a little bit of modeling skill, those helped.
Can I comment on this?
Yes.
We
Yeah,
have a
sure.
question in the chat, so if you get time, we can address that as well.
Okay.
So maybe after Arpit's comment, then I can we can take the question from the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with the things which are said here, but there is also one thing that even though you don't have diversity, it does not affect that much. But you should be careful while writing that proposal for your postdoc, and getting it reviewed by some person which is already expert in that area, like some postdoc or some faculty also will work. But like in my case, I have my peers who reviewed my proposals and get I mean gave me critical feedbacks, which was very important to have, because while writing the proposal in a different domain in which you have not worked in PhD, and writing a decent one would require you not getting off board from what is needed there in that particular group, or what is needed there in the particular institute in which you are applying. So you have to keep in the mind that maybe you're not getting the technical all the technical aspect of the particular field in which you are applying, but you should be careful that it is get reviewed by revised 2 or 3 times before you submit your proposal for postdoc. So in my opinion, you should also look for that.
Yeah, it's a good point, Arpit, that you mentioned it. It's like if you don't have diversity, it's not limit you to get a completely new things. You can still get something that you have not worked on. But yes, exactly as Arpit pointed out, that because when you don't know, you want to get it reviewed multiple times so that you will not say anything like which is not true.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's demonstration, like you have experience of demonstration that is important. Okay, yeah, Randeep.
Also, I agree with Bibhuti that you should have the middle ground between the two
Yeah.
expertise of your PhD and so the way if so it happened to me also, like I had a background of observational work mostly. Then now I am working on the modeling. But when you are doing the modeling, you also need observations to constrain those models. So there I got the middle ground that my expertise were required to that, and then it started. So always, if you have to find out that middle ground to apply for the next postdoc position. So now with that, I would like to take the question from the chat. So there is a question like, is it okay to include limitations in the method and give an alternative method? Or will it not give a bad impression for giving alternative method in the proposal?
So it's question from Dibya. So Dibya, you are right. Like we should mention the limitation, but it's always the sentence how you are putting that limitation. It should not say it may fail. It should not be written in that way, and then we'll try this. So limitation and the mitigation plan, it is important part of the proposal. So limitation, uncertainty, if like, for example, if it is a risky proposal, there are risks associated with that, the proposal that you are writing. Not vaguely saying that, okay, if this method will not work, I will don't put too much like methods. Okay, I will try this. If it doesn't work, I will try this. I will try this. No, you just try, give some demonstration, like some preliminary work if you can do to justify that this method will work, and then talking about what could be the places where this method can fail, because you cannot try everything beforehand. And then what is your mitigation plan? But if your method is like chance of failing is like 90%, you should not choose that method. It's difficult. Or you demonstrate that this method will work. So it's difficult, but we should definitely answering like put the limitation with mitigation plan.
Any other questions from the audience?
So apart from this, I would also like to
Yeah.
highlight if there are questions. So extracurricular skills are also important when you are giving an interview. So this is not part of proposal, but part of interview. So I think we will be discussing more on the interview section soon in this series. And I just wanted to mention that the young folks to also develop their extracurricular skills, whether it's photography or speaking skills. So those are also play a very good role in your selection when it comes to interview part.
Yeah, even like I have data visualization, that is the important aspect. Like that is playing a big role. How you present you're doing a good simulation, presenting your simulation. Those things, these are the extra skills that apart from science you have, and that will help like during your interview.
Okay. If we don't have any questions from the audience, then I think we're towards the end of the discussion. So again, I would like to thank all the panelists and our speaker today. And with that, probably would close our session today, and we'll be coming back with some new things in our this seminar series soon. Yeah. Till then.
Thank you so much everyone for coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
स्टॉप कर दिया है रणदीप मैंने
रिकॉर्ड को स्टॉप करते हैं।